Well, hello everyone. It's Mike and Lena with you, and we're here with our military update. And today I think we should start with the Kursk region because it's what is like all the Russian media outlets are about Kursk, especially on Telegram, and Western media, as I see, isn't very keen on speaking about what's happening there. And here I wanted to bring this map. This is scale how Telegram usually makes things larger. So if we take, I have to say a disclaimer here. The map used, it includes like, it is disputable, of course, but I have taken it from Wikipedia. So if you have any, if anyone is offended by that map, then go to Wikipedia. It is their source. Yeah, and if you don't like the regions which are included here, so go to Wikipedia and ask them why did they included those regions there. So we can see in deep red color, it is Kursk region. So this is the scale of European part of Russia, a bit more than European part of Russia. Here is the on the right. Here we see the Kursk region as a whole, and here with a fading red circle, it is the village of Suji and the district which is like not capital but the central city of district of Suji. And here how Telegram see it, so you cannot read the scale, so you cannot understand where it's going on, and some people get impressions that there are some major fights ongoing. So Mike, I would like to hear your opinion about that.
Yeah, it's basically one of the biggest stunts so far because everything is related to the PR, to promote the situation, to promote the war. Listen, this border incursion, I will call that incursion. It's nothing more than just a stunt for the Western media and the warmongers, and of course for those from the social media, those dumps to call them. See, the situation there is nothing. There is a very limited tactical gain. No exploits toward the operational gain to take a larger portion of the territory, except several villages are occupied and looted, of course, because those troops are looting them. Of course, militarily it's irrelevant, but the prestige of Russia is a little bit shaken because the old Russian territory was invaded the first time after 1941. So we now in the media we're facing about the second battle of Kursk, which is not really true. It's a border skirmishes, border incursion, which was greatly planned and executed by NATO strategies because they know exactly where the Russian lines are the weakest one. All of those border guards and conscripts. They are there to protect the border. They are not there to fight the war. So their main task is to absorb the initial impact, and they've done that. I believe that about 40 to 50 were taken prisoners. There were some casualties. They were done that. Ukrainian troops penetrate, especially special forces, deeper into the Russian territory, original Russian territory. And what really happened, that was like a bombastic statement. So Russia invaded, Russian territory is invaded. Ukrainian troops are now getting to Kursk. They're going to take a nuclear power plant. It's simply ridiculous. This is nothing more than a public stunt to boost the morale of Ukrainian society, which is shaking, which is on their last gasp. So. Nothing more than a border incursion with the size of several thousand men. First, the initial attack was about size of battalion, but it's gradually increased. So the problem now for Ukrainians is that their lines of communication, their supply routes, their weapon storages and depots they were hammered by Russian aviation, by Russian missiles. So to sustain any advance into the Russian territory, they need all of that stuff. But Russia is now hitting them on the flank. And flanking attacks, they're going to break the spine of Ukrainian attack. So what is going to happen? They're already bogged down. Some Ukrainian special forces penetrated deeper, and now they're clashing with the Russian special forces, both military and police. So this is basically the battle of special forces, where the Ukrainian mechanized units were pounded by Russian UAVs, Russian artillery, Russian aviation. Of course, Russians are suffering casualties. One column was attacked with HIMARS, that would be actually U.S. weapons supplied to the Russian territory. So that column was heavily damaged. There were casualties there. There were 200 and 300 casualties. But this is the war. Russia is reinforcing that area. Russia is not going to let a single Ukrainian soldier, except prisoners and dead, on their territory. In the next several days, Russia will gather enough troops so that they will attack. They will do flanking maneuvers. They will try to cut off Ukrainians, and retreat of Ukrainians is imminent. There is no way that they can hold that territory. Russia is going to wipe them out for that territory. And everything was just for the sake of public stand, to show how Russia is vulnerable, how Russian general staff can handle situation, etc., etc. Those stupid things from the Western media are circulating all the time, and any sane, any normal analyst is already aware of that. So nothing more by sacrificing troops, pulling the very valuable reserves from the other parts of the front. And Russia, as you can see, Russia is attacking on the other parts of the front. They're not just slowing down and moving reserves from one front to another. Russia has enough reserves deep in the Russian territory to counterattack those Ukrainian intrusions. And in the week or two, we will see cutting off some Ukrainian forces. We will see liberation of all temporarily occupied Russian villages. We will see Russia penetrating deeper into Ukrainian territory on other fronts. This is basically also there is a symbolic, like a second battle of Kursk, which is lost for Germany, and the Wehrmacht spine was broken on Kursk. They had several, to call that successful operations, like Ardennes offensive in 1944, which got Americans and Brits almost with the pants down. So, it's basically just the last moves of the dying beast. Ukraine is finished. It's over. They have to realize that. No matter how much help they have from the West, and the best Western interest is to keep fight on going. They don't care about Ukrainians. They don't care even less about Russians. All they want is to prolong this war. So that is the point. It will be probably more this stunts, this kind of stunts, but the end, how this conflict is going to finish is inevitable. So this,
yeah. And I just wanted to show what Zelensky had to say about that.
He's a prick.
Українська армія вміє дивувати і вміє досягати результатів. І це демонструє поле бою.
Yeah, he's obviously he's struggling with Ukrainian. He's Ukrainian is his second language, and even I can speak Ukrainian a little bit better than him. And I don't speak Ukrainian. Just a joke.
And I wanted to show one thing. It will go on the background because I added subtitles. It's Mikhailo Podolyak. He is, I think,
he's an idiot.
Advisor at the president's office.
He is an idiot. That guy's sick.
And he says that with this attack, they are going to scare the Russians, and the Russians are going to be very scared, and it will get Ukraine into more favorable negotiation position.
Yeah, absolutely. Russia is going to start negotiations right away. It's ridiculous. But they have those jokers. They have those kind of village idiots that represent their government. but on the background, their bank accounts, their trunks of their cars, their safes in their house are full with the euros, dollars. They have properties everywhere, and these guys are going to abandon the ship like rats abandoning the ship. And this is inevitable. It's not a matter of yes or no. It's just a question of when.
Yeah, but they will leave, but people will have to stay. That's what.
Well, they are elected by people. That's the biggest problem. These guys were elected in the legal elections. I went to Ukraine in 2019 for those elections. It was legal, but the problem is that Ukrainian people, they had no idea who they elected. It was served to them. Ukrainian people were set up on the most terrifying way. And now the people are going to pay for that. Not Podolyak or Zelensky or any of those pricks in the Ukrainian government.
I have read an article by Marat Khairulin, and he says that it was Budanov or maybe his office or whoever who is behind planning, and they don't really count people, so they don't consider people who work for them as people, and they just write them off immediately and recruit new ones.
Budanov is sick. That guy is simply sick. Those psychos in Ukrainian government, they are sacrificing their own people for the well-being of Western companies, BlackRock, name it. It's ridiculous what they're doing to their own people. But hey, they were elected. People choose them. People elected them. So be it.
Yeah, unfortunately. And
yeah, unfortunately.
Here I wanted to show one more example of cannibalism of a sort. And by the way, it's a Ukrainian resource that reports on that. Mm-hmm. And they're writing about Russian so-called Z channels who are as if patriotic, but who are very good in spreading panics among people. And well, I will not call the names because it's not really nice to do that. But there are channels who are really spreading panic, and they were saying that that Suja village is already taken by Ukrainian troops.
Oh, it's not. It's not. It's not.
Yeah, and as I read that, say Russian segment of Telegram too, and there are it's like massive attack on Russian population in general. On the one hand, there these not all of them, but mostly that so-called Z bloggers, and from the other side, these are obvious bots or obvious psyops who are operating in the comments to the news and saying that everything is doomed, we have lost, and so on.
Yeah.
Posing as Russian citizens.
Those guys are idiots, and anybody can create those Telegram links. I mean, this war is basically based on so strong the psychological operations and the teams. It's not just a few people doing that. The teams, the best teams on the Western intelligence are dealing with that. They have their people in Russia who are going to create those kind of channels, and I simply don't wasting my time on those kind of idiotism. There are several people that I trust, and that's it. But those kind of panic spreading and that stuff, FSB and Russian security services, they have to do with them after this war, this suppression operation is over. So they have to spend some time in Siberia, which will be very productive for them. But these channels, they're invented to do. They will. You see the pattern. They will do the pro-Russian stuff on the very heavy stuff. They will be attacked like a so-called pro-Ukrainian channels. Then suddenly they will switch the side. This is a form of psychological warfare. It's not my expertise, but I can see what these guys are doing.
Yeah, this is like obvious to many people.
Yeah.
And returning to Kursk, here are the international. Here is an international response. Well, of course, Global Times. It's a Chinese newspaper, and they're like frankly saying that Kursk attack worsens the conflict and dashes hopes for peace talks. And Kim.com was very good also in
yeah, he's good. Kim is
commenting
good.
on that.
Good guy.
And even pro-Ukrainian commenters, I don't think that I added them, but in general, here, New York Times fails to find explanation for Ukrainian armed forces attack on Kursk region amid Kiev's defeat. So even New York Times admits that.
Yeah. New York Times, did any time in the history they got anything right? They got probably on the December 7th, 1941, and August 6th and 9th, 1945. So these are two things that they, or few things that they got right. I'm not even really wasting my time on reading what they're saying. It's ridiculous. This is just entertainment for the dumps. But sometimes, blind chick can find a grain in. Sometimes, blind hand find a grain. So it's the same is with the New York Times. But those Western media, it's ridiculous what they're doing, and they don't even know what is going on in their own backyard, or they know but they pretend. How their own house is crumbling. So it's remind me like when you go to Buffalo or some of those like critical cities in the U.S. when you see house which is ruined, and the parked portion, the newest Porsche in the backyard or in the front yard, you see what kind of business those guys are doing. So it's the same situation. They can't see trees in the forest. They can't see how dirty their backyard is, and devote time and resources to fix their own backyard. But they will first to criticize somebody else. It's simply how Western media are working.
Yeah, and here is latest report. I think it's 3 hours old. And this is on Ukrainian losses. So for this week only, it's almost 14,000 people.
Yeah, it's basically 300 and 200. So 3 to 1 is basically proportion. 3 wounded, 1 dead. So yeah, this is feasible really, in realistic losses. As I said previously, everything is for the PR. Doesn't matter is that paid in euros, dollars, or in blood. The show must going on. The circus must going on. Show must going on. Doesn't matter if some of the artists broke his neck falling, but as soon as they can find somebody to step into his role, the clown show must go on.
Yeah. Sadly, but people die in that show, and this is
the saddest situation. But it is what it is. Ordinary people, they can't change that. They can if they launch like a revolution, style of Russian revolution in Ukraine, just to get rid of that Nazi leadership. But that leadership is so corrupted, so embedded in corruption, so dependent on the West, that they can't go. Even if Zelensky wants tomorrow to finish the war, he's not able to do that. They're going to eliminate him. They're going to kill him if he wants peace tomorrow. He needs to run the show. The show must going on. And who is orchestrating all that stuff? Just not look further than Washington D.C. or London.
And I have heard a very interesting opinion by that person is very famous in Russian blogosphere, and he doesn't want to be known in English-speaking sphere, but I will quote him, but that person is really credible, and he said that Ukraine is run by multiple clans, and some clans are not clans like in family, like in terms of family, but clans like as groupings.
Yeah,
and there's a power struggle there. And what's the most complicated thing is the ownership of the land. So the same land could be sold multiple times to multiple companies, because there was one leadership and they sold big land plot to one company, and then the other leadership came and they sold the same land plot to another company. So when the conflict ends, well, he was very unsure how this land would be, how to establish ownership of the land sold, and it's going to be like a major legal case also.
Well, the best thing is not to have a legal country. So if you don't have a legal country, you don't have legal cases. Simple.
Because
And
now
clans, mafia style, the Italian mafia, Sicilian mafia, they're just pure amateurs when you compare them with Ukrainian mafia. But political mafia, because now you have political mafia connected politicians and military. Old-style mafia, classic mafia was just like extortion stuff, racketeering protection. And those guys, but it's evolution in criminal world. Now we have a government mafia, we have a political mafia, and of course we have a Rothschilds, BlackRock, and all that stuff, which are capo del tutti capi. So as Italians like to say, so the boss of the all bosses. So they're the ones who run the show, and who cares about 3, 4, 10,000 acres of land in Ukraine? Who is the owner? Yeah, that doesn't really matter. They're going to sell, resell. They're going to money laundering the stuff. This is the perfect opportunity for those entrepreneurs to say that with the quotes, how they're doing this the stuff. So unfortunately for ordinary Ukrainians, all they will get from this war are endless cemeteries and sad stories. Stories about war veterans when they come from the front line. For future alcoholics when they start to talk about their exploits in taverns, and endless corruption that they have to pay to their own people who they choose to continue to govern them, because they're caught in the circle that they can't get out. And that circle is running. It's running non-stop, and it's speeding up. And who is spinning? Washington, London. They're spinning the stuff, and there is no chance that it can be slowed down. The only chance that they can slow down is that Ukraine as a country disappeared as is, and split between Russia, Poland, Hungary, and maybe like a Krivorog to keep like a core of Ukraine. But as of now, no, I don't see any. I don't see a future for Ukraine. I really don't see any future for them.
And
as you said, country is sold and resold and resold again, and that's the brutal truth of that region of Europe.
And I wanted to show one video.
Коллеги, мы от террористической
It's of
сущности
Dmitry Polyansky. I will balance it because it's in Russian.
Mm-hmm.
And he's speaking about the Ukraine. Well, first of all, he is addressing to Kursk attack, but in the second part of that, it's a short video, but I will tell in short what he's saying. He's saying that Ukraine has become like a center of terroristic activity.
It is.
And he called to investigate what is being done there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously, Ukraine is run not by Zelensky, but those who advise Zelensky. Zelensky, Syrskyi, Podolyak, Yarmak. Those guys are just pawns. Ukraine is run by BlackRock and those U.S. Companies and also U.S. congressmen. Decisions and directives are appointed from the embassies, like local representatives. Ukrainian general staff, Ukrainian headquarters, they have liaison officers from NATO, which is actively running the show. So that country, this is something that any warmonger can just dream about that. And their dream is becoming reality, because they turn same people against each other. They destroy the country, and what the achievement will be just emptying the territory. They hope that they will keep the territory, but Russia messed up with them, because Russia took rightfully what is theirs, and they will took more. We are not even talking now about Odessa, Kharkov regions, but it's coming. It's inevitable. It's not a matter yes or no, just when. And the problem with Ukraine, people need to realize that they're sacrificed. They're sacrificial lamb, the flock, the herd of lambs, which are brought to the slaughterhouse to please the warmongers on the West. Sad story, really, really sad story for such a beautiful country.
Yeah, and the land there, it's indeed very good for farming, and they could really feed the world if they.
Yeah, exactly. But also, that southern Ukraine and all that space to Volga River, it's historically very, very interesting because Khazars existed in that area, and from there they spread around the world, and without getting into really that part of the history. The consequences, we see that today. We simply see that today. Not only in Ukraine, we see that in the Middle East as well.
Yeah, because situation is very much alike of what was happening then, and it is hard because it's in the middle of Europe, and well.
Yeah. That is true.
And I wanted to turn your attention to one more conflict, and it has happened a good while ago. It's Georgian aggression against South Ossetia. Of course, there were different views about this conflict, but I have found the video. It was really hard to find, and it was in terrible quality, so I do apologize for the quality of the video, but it was the only one I could find. And here is the reminder of what has happened on August 8, 2008.
Know if they're alive or anything.
Wow, I know your aunt is with you. This I cannot even imagine. I mean, seeing a 12-year-old go through all of this, it must have been horrifying.
Yeah, it was horrifying for all of us, and main thing I wanted to say on the television, I want you to know to whom to blame on this conflict. That's Mr. Saakashvili, who started this war, and Mr. Saakashvili, who is aggressor, and who in 2 days my people, Ossetian people, were killed and were underbombed, and 2,000 people were killed in 1 day, and that's what I am against.
I would never cut you off. Unfortunately, a commercial break will take us there in 4 seconds, whether we like it or not. I'll bring you back after the commercial.
You don't
want
to hear that.
I'll be right back with you.
Thank you.
Stay by. Back with us from San Francisco. This program ends in less than a minute, but I want to give you 30 seconds to complete your thought. So go ahead.
Yes, my house is burned in South Ossetia, where I lived, and we can blame only one person and Georgian government. I'm not blaming Georgian people. I'm blaming Georgian government, and he has to resign.
Well, that's certainly what the Russians want. If I had more time, you would get it, but I have but 5 seconds.
Yeah, it's typical. It's typical of typical.
Yeah, looks familiar to you, I think.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. It happened to me also. So it's obvious what really happened in Georgia. They were instructed to attack Ossetia to provoke Russia, and they got beaten for that. But all of that stuff. Let's start first from Yugoslavia, ex-Yugoslavia. Then we have Georgia. Then we have before that we had also Iraq, Afghanistan. All of this stuff is directed. If you pull some connections, everything is pointing that they need to weak Russia. They need to destroy Russia. And I said they, NATO, US, UK, name it. So everything is going in that direction. Georgia was just one of the stings that they tried to inflict, try to bleed Russia. Chechnya before it's going for hundreds of years, for decades, hundreds of years. That Western politics, and you look no further than UK, the most perfect politics for the centuries was from the UK. There is one joke people saying in India, like if you see two neighbors fighting, guarantee one British guy visited one of them the day before. So that's the way how they're doing the stuff. And I don't see any difference between Brits and UK politicians. The difference is in the level of corruption, nothing else.
Yeah, and also interesting thought. Well, I don't know what kind of business genius invented that, but U.S. companies are looking for co-production deals in the Ukraine.
Yeah, it's another name of money laundering.
Yeah, because I really wonder first, where would they get electricity from? And the second thought is, are they going to do what? Put produce them like, I don't know, some kinds of dwarfs in mines, or where are they going to make?
I don't know, but this is Ukraine. Ukraine became the biggest money laundering mechanism or enterprise in the world. If company want to launder some money, they will say, "Oh, we are going to invest in Ukraine." So they will somehow send money to politicians. Politicians are going to put at his campaign. Campaign is going to send that money back to politicians, and they will all go to Ukraine for a few days to have a party and drink. And they will say, "Oh, we are now going to invest in Ukrainian defense." First, it's simply, and you're right when you said that where they're going to find electricity. Yeah, they may import that from the Europe. From the EU, and the EU will gladly support them in everything, because we have clowns now leading the EU, and from economic union it turned into the political and military union. Anyway, clowns will be clowns, so there is nothing that we can do that. But all of this investments, blah blah, that they are talking about, it's just the stunts, just the way how to money launder. How to launder money in any kind of investment. The question is why more people are not doing that. Simply because you need to have a congresswoman, or you need to have somebody in Senate to push to do that. UK also, they need to have members of whatever members of parliament. So, for the business is for the big shots. Small shots will do some smuggling or whatever, like smuggling people back and forth from Ukraine. But who is pulling the trigger? Who is the biggest sheriff in the town? So testbed named Ukraine is ongoing, and many more different options will be tested there. The very first, if they really want to do some industry, they need to repair their infrastructure. They need to do to repair their power facilities. This is not going to happen overnight, if anytime soon. So yeah, the dark clouds, as Churchill once said about the Soviet bloc, the Iron Curtain fell over Europe, but now the dark clouds fell over Ukraine.
Yeah, and I have also a question about Bangladesh, because I asked that before, and now it's obvious that that coup happened there.
Yeah.
And it is quite unclear what is going to happen next, because as far as I read from press, from different kinds of sources, that previous prime minister who resigned and escaped to India, she wasn't loved by the country, but those who are coming in her place, they're not very... I wouldn't say that India is very okay with seeing those people in power, because now, according to Indian press, there are some oppressions against Hindu population in Bangladesh. So, and there are clear parallels with the Maidan of the 2014, because the protesters were trying to demolish statues, and they were trying to rob the residence of prime minister who left, and well, and there are obviously Russian and Chinese interests in the region too. First of all, Russia builds 2 nuclear power plants there, or one with 2 reactors, I think. And China has also trade interests. And what's the most interesting thing is that I read one interview by Bangladesh military commander. I don't remember his exact position. And he said that if something happens in Bangladesh, then India will be affected immediately. So it's like
well, look no further than UK, MI6, and Washington D.C. Those guys are planning and planting all of that stuff. Bangladesh is formerly known as Eastern Pakistan, is an independent country. Yeah, it's a prone to this kind of stuff. If somebody wants to destabilize that Indian subcontinent, they need to find the proper players. So Bangladesh will play between India and Pakistan. It's like pounding the wedge between the countries, creating the artificial crisis that serve only interest of destabilizing the region. And who has the interest of destabilizing the region close to China or India or Russia, which are all members of BRICS? Look no further than London and Washington, D.C. Simply, you can smell that their influence there. You can simply smell their influence. And of course, they will always find idiots who are going to protest. Let's first start from Serbia. When Milosevic was toppled down in October, I think 2021 or whatever was I forgot the name, or I forgot the year. Then Maidan, then all of those color revolutions on the world. Perpetrators are the same. These guys are monsters. They're doing the worst thing that they can anybody do to the fellow human being, destroying the countries, destroying the governments. But it's their modus operandi. It's the way how they work. And yeah, it's for me, culprit is if you want to find who orchestrated all this stuff, don't look further than MI6 regional offices and the CIA. These are the guys. These are the main perpetrators in everything.
Yeah, because they will create a hurting spot in that region. One more.
Yeah, exactly. So they can always inflame the situation between Bangladesh and India, Pakistan and India, China and India. So they need that. They can't live without that. They are leeches of the society. They need to create a crisis anywhere in the world. Doesn't matter how much it will cost. Doesn't matter how many lives will be lost in that. Who cares in their circles? So they need to create the stuff, and they're doing that. They're very successful on the macro scale and on the micro scale. Like pressure on individual people like Scott Ritter or Julian Assange and all of that stuff. So everything is cooking in two or three pots.
Yeah, and as to Scott Ritter, well, here is the news that FBI had raided his house and they have taken all the equipment, telephone and computer. And
it's a standard procedure.
And he is accused in breaking that foreign agent registration law because he was receiving salary for his articles, and he stated that clearly, and he never made a secret out of it. So everyone knew that he did his job and he got paid for his job as a journalist.
Americans are proud to have that freedom of expression, but now it's really questionable. So is that really freedom or whatever? So they have that First Amendment guaranteed their opinion. Of course they are, but see what is funny, Foreign Agent Registration Act or whatever. So however they called it, they have that in the U.S., but they opposed Georgia or Georgia to implement their act. what on earth is going on with those people? So they have, of course, if somebody is working for and getting money from abroad, yeah, he paid the taxes for that as an income or whatever, which is fine with whoever is doing that. But there is something much deeper. And Scott, Larry Johnson, Andrei Martyanov, they all step on the foot of the U.S. So yeah, I'm expecting that it will be more these kind of FBI interventions to go and check. They will not check for whoever is going to cross their border illegally, because the U.S. border is now like a Swiss cheese. You can go faster to their border without passport than with the passport. But it's not it's not of interest. But they need to find people who they're going to harass, which express their own First Amendment. So it's funny, but that country turned into a joke. Now I can expect to be questioned about that. I don't care anyway. So it is what it is. I mean, Scott, of course, if he's paid by Sputnik or whoever, he paid taxes for his income. Everybody knows that he is doing that. So there is he has nothing to hide.
Yeah, he never hidden that. That's the point.
Nothing hidden. So he's simply doing his job. And,
yeah, it is like he was allowed to do that up to the time when
a certain level when you start to criticize Israel or you can criticize Ukraine as much as you want, but criticizing Israel is like a hotspot.
Yeah,
you don't touching that. So for who knows what kind of reasons. I'm not going to deeper into those reasons because obvious reasons, of course. But you know who is pulling the strings.
Yeah, but Middle East is in general very complicated region, and there are no clear blacks and whites there.
No. It's
because everyone has interests everywhere, and well, if they really wanted, one of the sides really wanted to solve that question once and for all, they would have already done that. But it looks like they're all profiting from that, and that's all.
There is money to be made, and I'm calling that often those in some of those Arab countries, I call that bakshish governments that living on bakshish, which is, let's say, like a prototype of bribes or whatever, how we call that in the West. But this is the way how things operate. And you have when you look who is operating, who is pulling strings, who is protecting who, people know that. People are not stupid. People simply understand what's going on, but people are powerless to do anything because they're busy doing occupied with something else. They'll occupy with reality shows or games or whatever. It's ancient Roman tactics. Give people bread and games, and they will be happy.
Yeah, and now there's a computer game, so people come and just disconnect from reality.
Yeah. People living in some virtual worlds, and that is the way how our society is going to develop. Unfortunately, but it is what it is. There is nothing that ordinary people can do, because I think that point of no return already passed. So we are controlled one or another way. And when I said control, look what happened with that COVID stuff. How they tested the way to control population. And voila, now people are set up. Once when you're in that circle, there is no exit out.
And
except something very radical like a French Revolution, but it's happening once every 300-400 years. So who knows? I'm not saying that it will be a revolution in France, but that style of flipping the. But even French Revolution was Who was behind? Was it just the people or somebody who is more in that area?
Yeah, because by the way, I have listened to a very interesting lecture. I'm not sure if it is available in English. I listened to it in Russian, and it was about Napoleonic Wars, and more specifically, it was about that Enlightenment era. People of France, in particular, ordinary people, they were against all those reforms. They didn't like them because they loved their church. And they wanted to go to church and to live as they used to live. But those who came to power started imposing certain agenda on people, and they had to use the army to convince people to obey.
And guillotine. I mean, guillotine.
Yeah, and at school we were taught that, it was the people's will, but it wasn't the people's will. That's the problem.
Nobody asks people for anything. People exist only to pay the taxes and die in the war and fight for the oligarchs, for the establishment. People are nobody cares for ordinary people. In some countries, there is more and more like that humane stuff that some politicians, some governments take care of population, but in general, no. There was one interesting quote, like some of those I found it on Twitter. Somebody said that government of the people, for the people, to the people. Then he said, but people are stupid, so they need somebody to rule them. And it's tragically true, because people give them bread and games, some entertainment, those reality shows, so that create some artificial crisis, and it's easy to manipulate them.
There was an old Russian anecdote. Well, I think it's very applicable. Like now, nowadays, a man from distant village goes to Moscow, and he met, I think, Brezhnev there. And when he returned to his village, and he said, they say that in the USSR everything is for the man and about the man, and I have seen that man. So it's very applicable now. We were thinking that it was funny then, but now it's become a reality. Becomes a reality.
Yeah, and it will be more interesting because we are approaching to November, with the biggest reality show in the world is going to unfold in November.
Yeah, what only scares me that for the sake of this reality show, they're in relative safety across the ocean. And who is to suffer first of all is Europe, just in case.
Well, who knows what is going to happen? Maybe show will be interrupted, but we'll see. It's maybe it's just the two sides of the same medal. Somebody's pulling strings and playing with us on the large scale, and we can't see the tree in the forest. That is the point.
Yeah, I remember the ending. The very ending of Men in Black, the movie. Have you seen that first part? It was released in 1998. There was shown the Earth, then the solar system, then our Milky Way, then the galaxies, and as a result, there were two aliens playing dice with the universes, not with one, but with multiple. So we cannot see the bigger pictures from here, but we may try to do that. Why not?
Yeah, why not?
And I wanted to add one more thing. I was reading one interesting thing by analyst Irina Alksnes, and she said, many people say that already, that what is happening now reminds us of what happened before in century 5, like our era. So when Roman Empire fell apart, and something alike happens now, and we should not wait that this will end like as Mio ends in a click. Everything will be as it was. She said, no. It will take decades to come back to relative normality. So we have to get accustomed to.
Absolutely. Yeah, but I agree with that. I agree.
Yeah, that's true. And I wanted to show one banner. It is about, well, it's Scott's channel, one of Scott's channels on X. It's US Tour of Duty. And today they will be broadcasting Scott, and he will be telling about what has happened to him. He was planning to tell in more detail, and here is his YouTube channel, and you can see the live broadcast. It will be, I think, 5 p.m. New York time.
Local time. Yeah, Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah. So it's very late for Europe, or too early. I don't know. But for America,
it's 11 o'clock, 11 p.m. in Europe.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess we will be finishing for today.
Yeah. I know it's video is delayed. I don't know what's going on. It's raining here, raining at your place. Something is, yeah, but it is what it is.
Okay, so have a nice weekend, everyone, and please subscribe to Substack if you haven't. There are very many interesting articles, and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.